Good morning. I hope everybody is well and that your needles are flying. A few days ago, I posted in our Sampler Years, a Facebook group, a question about how people stored their spools of silk, and in particular the 103 spools. Now, there were lots of suggestions and some very, very good suggestions, but what I was looking for was a way that I could store my spools so that when I was reproducing, I could have the range of colours out on my work table. So I wanted to be able to not look at spools stood up like soldiers behind each other, where really you only see the outside colours and the tops of the spools. I wanted to see the spools on their sides all laid out together. And the reason I want to do this is that if I use a shade card, you can't lay the shade card right up against the antique sampler that I'm reproducing. I like to take a piece of silk and lay it over the sampler, because that way you can get the best possible match. Now, there were lots of good suggestions, and I've ordered about 3 different storage units. But one came yesterday that was suggested by Christina, and here it is. It's an acrylic case and it has 6 drawers, and this means that when I'm reproducing, I can pull out the drawers and I can have them on my work table, and I can just have all these colours in front of me. And with the drawers, I can fit 20 spools, and there are 6 drawers in the unit. So one little box, I can fit 120 spools. So I'm very, very pleased with that. As you can see, these are all drawers. It's very neat, and I'm going to buy some more of these, and they will all stack on top of each other. Now, I'm based in the UK, so I bought this off amazon.co.uk, and it is a female, F for Freddy, E for Echo, M for Mike, O for Orange and R for Romeo, a female 6-tier cosmetic makeup organiser. Clear acrylic jewellery organiser box, and the dimensions overall are 9.4 inches by 8.1 inches by 5.9 inches, and each drawer is 8.5 inches by 4.9 inches by 1.2 inches, and delivered, this cost me 27 English pounds, and it's ideal. It works really, really well. So I just thought I would share that with you. It's just really just what I wanted. And when the other storage units come, I will share those with you as well. It's really good to share with each other things that work. It's so expensive to buy all the little bits and bobs that we need for our hobby. If they work and they do exactly what we want them to do, then they don't seem so expensive. When you buy something, it comes, you try it, it doesn't work, it goes in the cupboard, then that is a very expensive purchase. When I did my last video, which was the second video for NH1656, my beloved's gift, the stitch along, I showed this sampler, which is Martha's Swallow. And I've had a few emails about it, and in particular from some of the ladies that attended my class at Sassy Jack's in August. And that class was for the beautiful Esther Benson. And Esther has this building on her sampler. And I explained to the ladies in the class that whilst we'd seen this building before, initially we thought it might have been connected to Solomon's Temple. And then another sampler came into my collection that had the same building, but this one, the little girl had embroidered the name, the Temple of Fame. And I took with me that model, which is a Nashville release. She caused a lot of excitement. She's a beautiful sampler, and she will come out at Nashville. But what this sampler has as well is also the Temple of Fame. There it is. So that was now 3 samplers that we have found with the Temple of Fame on. And they say things come in 3s, but they're not right, because sometimes they come in 4s. A few weeks ago, I was really excited to see a sampler come up for auction. And it's a sampler that I'd actually admired before because it was from a known collection. And over the years, you see so many samplers that you don't always make connections in your mind. But the moment I saw this sampler came up, I realised it was another Temple of Fame. And here it is. And it actually says the Temple of Fame. Isn't that beautiful? Now is a good word. I use now an awful lot. When I saw this sampler before in a book, I thought that this sampler may have been a memorial sampler because the little girl's name was written on what looked like a headstone, a tombstone. But in the last few weeks, Sandra and I have been researching these samplers, and Sandra found another 3 samplers that are almost identical to this one, obviously from the same school, and they all have these little monuments with the girls' names. And we found a lot of these girls in the family history records, and they didn't die young at all. So these are not memorial samplers. And this one, her name is Sarah Lizars, and Lizars is a very unusual name. So I have found out lots and lots of information about this girl, and she didn't die young. She died, as an adult after having a interesting and worthwhile life. She had many children. So I just wanted to share that little bit of interest with you, because I think that we can all learn by having these little sort of short little segments of information on samplers. The book I'd seen that sampler in was this one, which is a very, very old book, and it's some pictures and samplers from the collection of Lady St. John Hope. And there's the sampler from the collection. Lady St. John Hope, she died many, many years ago, and the collection was split up a long time ago. But many of the samplers from her collection are now in the Victoria and Albert Museum, London, and the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridgeshire. A sampler that many of you will know is M.A. Tipper, a Bristol Orphanage sampler. That's a sampler that's available to stitch. It's been reproduced. That was from Lady St. John Hope's collection. This little book, I've been trying to find a copy for a friend of mine, and it just doesn't seem to be around. If anybody comes across a copy of this book, I would very much like to acquire it as a gift for a friend. Another sampler that's arrived that I'm going to share with you is this sweet little one. And this sampler, what caught my eye was the Lord's Prayer in French. I thought that was just so sweet. But even though the Lord's Prayer is in French, she wrote in English her work 1752. So I wonder why she wrote the prayer in French and her work in English. That's a mystery, we will never know. But that little sampler is so beautiful. I think that would be really lovely to stitch all of these little letters. They're all done in different stitches. This little girl had a very, very delicate touch with her needle. It's quite amazing that colours can last all these years. This sampler is not far off 300 years old, and there's a sweet little Adam and Eve scene. Adam and Eve samplers are just so popular. And if you look at these trees, you've got a little bird on the top, but you've got little birds in the centre. So I don't know if those are partridges in pear trees, but I don't even know if partridges live in trees, but there we are. Anyway, I thought that you would enjoy seeing that sampler and the other two. This one, Sarah Nizar's, I would love to stitch this. So I'm giving some serious thought about reproducing this sampler. So I'll let you know if I take the plunge. Reproducing samplers is a little bit like stitching them. You buy a sampler, fall in love with it, have every intention of reproducing it, and then another one comes along. So you get a stash of samplers in the end. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my very brief review of this storage system, and I'll be back in touch when the other two containers arrive. Bye, say bye.